Hi guys, Alex Peak Performance Reviews. Welcome to another vlog and welcome to another car review. This time I am super excited for this review. I am driving the MK5 Supra, but hang on, it's not just any Supra. It is a manual. It has 6 gears, 3 pedals, and it is a proper manual. And I'm not going to get too excited about this yet, but I feel like it promises a lot, and to me this could be a more complete package than the MK5 has ever been. And could it mean that I want one of these so much more badly, especially with this manual? Quite possibly. Will it feel more akin to a real Toyota, to the Supra badge that it should have? I don't know. I mean, I love it anyway. I've always liked these. Anyone will know if they've followed the channel for a long time. I did order one of these, but I did cancel my order last minute. Number of things. Yes, maybe the BMW-ness of it. Not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, it's a great thing, but the fact that you kind of want a Toyota and you get a bit more BMW. However, obviously, Toyota fettled it, the engine, etc., and they've done a really, really good job. And overall, it's a great, great car. But this great car is lacking a few little things and that feel for me for a proper driver's car. And for me, often that comes in the form of having a manual gearbox. I know not everyone will agree with that. However, it's just something that I prefer. The driver engagement just feels that little bit more amped up and a bit more special, in my opinion. Anyway, enough of that. There's nothing else more to this than obviously the normal one is, but it's a manual. It's going to feel completely different. Can't wait. Let's get on with the drive. See you in a bit. Right, let's get a fade with the MK5 manual Supra. First things first, I have to say, having driven so many press cars which were all auto, it is really weird getting used to a manual Supra, especially a MK5. Obviously I've got a Mk4 in a manual, so I'm used to that, but having a MK5, it just feels really foreign being in here with it having a manual gearbox. First things first, let's address that or talk about this manual gearbox. It is absolute wonder, I have to say. It hasn't been robbed from just any BMW. It is still a BMW gearbox, but apparently they had to mishmash like loads of different BMW gearboxes all into making this. So they really basically hand selected little bits and bobs to make this really feel very nice and very unique to this car. And it is. This gearbox effectively in its iteration is only in this car, which is really, really cool. And let me tell you now, it is beautiful. I'm not obviously pushing on yet, but I've been told that this has got a super close ratio, fairly shortly stacked, with a shorter final drive ratio than the auto. I think Toyota have done that basically to try and make up the speed differential that you would get in the auto. Power and torque is still the same, power being 335 horsepower and the 500 newton meters of torque. However, I never believe that figure. There is no way this car has only got 335 horsepower. It's probably got the same as what the American market one has at 380-ish. Driving it feels even quicker than that. But yeah, this manual box is only accustomed to this car and this car only. And what a box it is. Really, really lovely, chunky, clunky kind of throw and gear notches. It feels very precise. You really know when it's in. It feels like it would be very hard to misshift this gearbox. And yeah, like I say, these ratios are really, really stacked. Jeez, it goes. Holy yeah. It goes, guys. It goes. I have to say, on first impressions of speed, I swear this feels quicker. And again, it probably is only due to the fact that the ratios are more tightly stacked, but they've obviously, the gear changes in an auto, on paper, probably, you know, cycling through the speeds, you'll probably notice that I'm sure the auto should be quicker. It certainly is in the 0 to 60 department, as you'd expect. This does 0 to 60 in a not at all shabby 4.6. I was going to test that today, but it's a little bit damp out on these roads, but it's starting to get a little bit better, so we may still be able to do that. So I will try and get that for you later in the video. But yeah, let's talk about a bit more about the drive. Obviously, it feels, you know, no different to the standard car, and that is absolutely epic. These were built to be nicely neutral, so they can be driven fast, in my opinion, by anyone. Obviously, you turn the traction control off, you can still invoke it into a nice tail slide, and it can, you know, invoke the car into a nice oversteer situation. However, it's much more harder, I would say, to do that in this than it is, say, a BMW M1 or like the A110 Alpine. And even the Boxster, but the Boxster is probably similar to this in the respect that the chassis does feel a bit more neutral. But yeah, because of that, it does really look after you, and it doesn't matter who you are, you can drive this car really fast and it really does look after you. So I do like that. Steering input, obviously, if you are fresh to, you know, any Supra videos and you're looking at this review in isolation, let me go through the other fundamental things of this car. The steering weight is lovely. It's fairly light. I wish it was probably a little bit heavier, but in general, it's really nice. I'm going to stick it into sports mode. It doesn't really ever feel like it, the sports, apart from it, you can tell it increases the throttle response and it makes the car a bit more tighter with its dampening. The steering doesn't feel much different, probably a little tiny bit weightier, and in general, actually, I say it's light. It's not as light as, say, something like an RS3, which is a bugbear of mine on an RS3, being a little bit too light. This is probably about as light heavy as I would want a car to be, so it's nearly about where it wants to be. I'd prefer it to be a little bit heavier, but in general, really nice. These seats are absolutely beautiful. They really keep you in check and where you need to be, and yeah, like I say, I'm in the manual and this is epic. So we've got 6 closely stacked ratios, bespoke BMW gearbox made for this car, and the bods at BMW and Toyota had to basically widen this transmission tunnel. You can probably see from my bits of VT, this whole section has had to been beefed up. Some of the infotainment system would have been over here, and yeah, like I say, it's huge, this centre console. You still got the plenty of space for your passenger. It hasn't really affected that too much, maybe on the knee perhaps, but in general, no issues there whatsoever. But yeah, let's drive it a little bit more. Got it in sports. It does. Do you know what? Because those ratios are more stacked, and because you've got control of what that gearbox is doing, so to speak, which I love, it don't half. If you put your foot down, it pins you in the seat. It is really sprightly. And on first impressions, absolutely epic. Just going to push it around these corners a little bit more. Obviously, again, we've got to be a bit careful. This is damp, but it really has got great grip from these Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tyres. Like I said before, still has got the same brake horsepower and torque. However, because of the ratios, it definitely feels like it's more. You never know what the bods at Toyota and BMW have done to this car in terms of whether they have amped it up, because they've seemed to have kept the Highline BHP figure at the same always, and it's differing to the USDM market, which is the American market. But I honestly think it's definitely got no less than that market out there, which is about 380 horsepower. So you buy one of these, you go down the pub, it sounds like you're going to brag, and you'll say 335 horsepower, and these days it doesn't sound like it's very impressive. 335 horsepower, my hot hatch has got that, but no, honestly, this hasn't got 335 horsepower. All you need to say is it's a Supra, it's a manual, and it's damn quick. Or come out in it. It's bloody brilliant. It's so quick, it's so good. But yeah, let's push on and see what the driver dynamics and what this box does to the whole feel and essence of the car. Is it going to make me regret my decision of cancelling my order? No, because obviously I cancelled my order on a launch edition model, which was an auto. So is it going to make me want to buy one of these, and is it more true to the Supra name? Well, I mean, you could argue that the Supra came in its Mark IV form, which we all know and love, and probably know and love more than any of the other forms of Supra. It came in an auto and a manual straight out of the bat. Whereas Toyota basically weren't ever going to plan to do a manual transmission, but only an automatic. And the only reason why Toyota ended up doing this, basically putting a manual gearbox in this car, is because people badgered them and told them they need to make this car with a manual. They had no plans to do it. They listened to everyone and they ended up making this manual car. And I tell you what, they've worked on it. So before we carry on with the drive a bit more, let's talk about, because why not, practicality. A lot of people are not going to worry too much about this, but obviously you could daily this car, but you have to be either a singleton or someone with just another half and not a family. When you really kind of take things down and slow it all down, it's actually quite a comfortable car, and the dampers do a really good job in most roads. It is firm, don't get me wrong, but in general it's not that bad. So you could drive long distances in this. I don't think you would tend to daily this, although this motor is really good and it can be very efficient to the tune of 30 miles per gallon if you are careful, but most of the time it lives life in between 20 and 30 miles per gallon, as I've said. But I am driving it very hard, but it's got a really decent sized boot, so that's where it can be practical. But obviously at the end of the day, if there's more than two of you, it's not going to be any good in that respect. But yeah, it's really good. I'm just doing a little roundabout. I always do a roundabout test just to see the grip. It is a little bit damp, but it's rear wheel drive as well, obviously. But it feels as though there's a lot of lateral and bilateral grip, definitely, from these big Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tyres. Other than that, you can't go too far wrong. Just spec it to how you want. Colour wise, there's lots of different colours available. I'm in the red, which I do love. I'm not sure whether it be necessarily what I would pick. When I ordered mine and I cancelled my order, it was like a gunmetal grey colour. I can't remember what they called it, but that was a lovely colour. It really showed off the lines, but I do love it in this red. In the comment section, guys, what colour would you have if you went for one of these? I'm intrigued to know your thoughts. Do you like the red? Yeah, in the comment section. So I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Obviously, I'm a Mark IV Supra owner, and some people, I think there is some Mark IV Supras that do have a bit of a chip on their shoulder and do seem to be a bit harsh with this car and saying that it shouldn't wear the Supra badge. Now, I don't like the fact that there is a lot of BMW parts in here, in the sense of I wish it was very unique to feeling, all of the Toyota essence and being like a proper Toyota. However, I'm not that fussed about it. If it's kind of my second car, I mean, I wouldn't get rid of my Mark IV, that's for damn sure. But I would love one of these in my garage, and now with the introduction of this manual, honestly, guys, yes, if you argued it before, then maybe you could argue that maybe now it actually feels like it could be wearing that name with honour and valour, because I have to say, whatever they've done to this car, they have done an absolutely superb job, and I adore it, and I want one. Yes, it gets snaky if you want it to, I'm telling you, even with traction control on. Yes, it's a damp day, but I tell you what, this car is just so much more fun than the outgoing auto model. Oh, Jesus. It's a lovely box as well. Jesus, it's fast. Brakes, I should probably talk about them. Great brakes. I mean, I don't know what these would be like on the track. They're not huge brakes for a car this size, especially these days, with the caliper disc combo. However, on the road they feel really good. I don't know how they'd fare on track, but I have seen a few of these smacking round tracks, and they seem to be going around for a decent amount of laps, and they've still got stock brakes, so they must be decent. And on the road, yeah, they feel awesome, to be honest with you. They feel really good. And it's just, yeah, well, I think especially when you get heat in them, when you get heat in these brakes, they do start to feel really good. At first, if I'm honest, they felt a little bit, okay to average, but get a bit of heat in them, and Jesus, yeah, they stop really good. It's great. It is great. This is a fun, awesome car. I love it. Well done, Toyota. And well done to the guys at GR, I should mention that as well. Gazoo Racing. you have created a damn fine car that absolutely takes the fight to current gen M2 A110. Different kind of car. The A110 is just so fun and raucous and mad. And between the three cars, this, the M2 Comp, and say the 718, they're the three cars that are a little bit more neutral than say the A110, which is just a raucous mad car. Of those three cars now, I have to say this has made a more bigger name for itself finally. The auto car, I have to say, I love and I adore, but if you had to decide between those three cars in isolation, you might argue the Supra is maybe third in the pack. Although weirdly, in many different respects, I would kind of still have the Supra over them, possibly the M2 Supra close. But now with the manual in the mix, I would actually probably now definitely take the Supra. It'd make my decision easier, and it is a great car, I'm telling you. Let's push it a bit more around these corners. Braking, superb. Chassis corners nice and flat. Dampening just keeping the car hunkered on the road, and mated to this awesome 6-speed box. This car is divine. I love it. Well done BMW, and well done Toyota. Sorry, I did say BMW, but well done Toyota. So guys, that is the end of our video on the manual Supra, and you'll probably see from my facial expressions throughout the video and even now, I am so impressed and so in love with this car. It always had an amazing chassis, very neutral, but when you turn the traction control off, especially with the ratios on this now, you can really invoke it into oversteer a lot easier than you could with that auto box, and it just feels more accomplished and akin to this beautiful 6-speed manual gearbox that they've put in it. And I have to say, now it goes from a really good car to an outstanding car, and I adore it. I'm going to give the GR Mark 5 Toyota Supra manual a peak performance reviews rating of 9.4 in its kind of range and segment, because it's just one of the best out there now. It really is. If you're in the market for something that has a platform that is modifiable, if you're watching it for this reason, now with a manual gearbox, to have that engagement and enjoyment amped up, should I say, because the other one was amazing, but this is just really that much better. Then honestly guys, go get yourself a test drive. You will be impressed. Or if you can't get the opportunity to get a test drive, don't worry, just buy it. Trust me, you will be so happy. This car is just awesome. And Toyota GR, well done guys. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. As always, like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you again in the next one. Bye for now.